Our webinars are hosted on the second Thursday of each month from 1 to 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, except for December. And the great thing is, if you can't make it, not to worry. All of our calls are recorded and available for replay at any time. And we don't mind if you share with other people too. So just be sure to register for the calls, and we'll be sure to send you the link. We have got an outstanding lineup of speakers and events, especially for today's talk. But before I move on to that, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items with you. What I'm sharing with you right now is actually our home screen. We are very excited to share with you that we are going to be hosting a new 5-part course on investing basics. Over the years, we have been inundated with requests to be able to learn more about investing and investing basics. So we will be starting that on April the 19th. So whether you're an ingenue, just getting started, or you want to have a refresher course, this is a great time for you to be able to take advantage of that. Our calls are going to be held, and the webinars will also be recorded and available for replay. But the basics of investing beyond the piggy bank will start on April the 19th and will run through 5 sessions. So please come through to our website to sign up, get more information about it, and because we do have a limited amount of people that we can have in and on the calls. You will get homework, so it will be going back to school to some extent. We also have coming up as well next month our famous tech diva, who really will be talking about how to hack-proof your life. I'm sure all of us have had some situation where we have been impacted by either our social media sites or our emails, and that has created some problems with being able to protect our personal information. We also have a tremendous amount of content on our site. Each or every other month we are hosting a philanthropic leader, and this month we are hosting a talk with Betty Lamar with Empower Her, which focuses really on issues that are related to marginalized girls and teens here in the Los Angeles area. So we invite you to come to our site as well. Now, just a couple of other things before we get started today. As I mentioned, our call is being recorded. It's going to be available for replay. We send out the link within about a few hours after the call has ended. So anyone who is registered will get the call, will get the link. You also have a chat box. We try to stay on time. It's a half an hour, so as I said, 30 minutes on the clock, 20 minutes to teach, and 10 to talk. We'd like to reserve those last 5 to 10 minutes to have and answer any questions. So feel free to use that chat box. You can do it at any time during our presentation, and we'll certainly unlock that chat box to answer and ask those questions. So with that, I want to introduce our 2 great speakers we have with us today. First is, and both people will be speaking today, which is awesome. We have Zoe Gillis, who is a therapist. Now, our talk is around how to get around and deal with the issues around fear of managing money. And I can tell you in the many decades I've been working with people, and particularly women, there is this roadblock sometimes with managing their own personal finances. And even though they may be running a department or a division of a major company and are responsible for tens of millions of dollars, it still is a big problem when it comes to managing their own personal funds. And so what we like to do is dig a little bit deeper, find out what is the reason for that. And so our speakers today are really going to kind of do a deeper dive into why that is so. So first we have Zoe Gillis, as I mentioned, who is a therapist, and also Imelda Villalobos, who is a money coach. So they team up together, they work together, share clients, and I think they're going to have a tremendous amount of information that they are going to be able to share with us today about how to get around and address the whole issue of fear when it comes to managing their personal finances. So, Imelda and Zoe.
Hi, Renee. This is Imelda.
Hi, Imelda. How are you?
I'm well.
Welcome.
How are you? Thank you. So we'll go ahead and get started. How's that?
That sounds good. Let me get up your wonderful presentation here and share it with everyone. Okay. All right. It's all you.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar, Letting Your Money Mojo Flow. My name is Imelda. I'm excited to be here today and talk about money and how we can create financial wellness for ourselves. And thank you, Renee, so much for bringing us on and providing such a great platform for all of us to connect and to learn from one another. I want to tell you a little bit about my background. It's in corporate finance and small business consulting. For many years, I helped business owners grow their companies by focusing on budgeting and planning in order to achieve their financial goals. As a money coach, I now help women apply similar techniques to create more harmony and clarity around money. And we do this through education, through guidance, and through planning.
Hi, I'm Zoe, and I am a private practice therapist in Silver Lake, and I specialize in running groups and wilderness retreats that help women have conversations and work through topics that often bring up shame, fear, and judgment. So I'm really excited to be here today and looking forward to sharing my experience on how to work with fear and how to use mindfulness and meditation as a way to build a healthy relationship with money. So why money and meditation? By combining practical financial learning and mindfulness techniques, we develop a foundation where we can begin to build a healthier relationship with money, ourselves, and others. And Imelda and I started talking more and more about the emotions, beliefs, and attachments that many of us carry when it comes to money. And we decided it was important to open up this conversation and start educating both ourselves and other women about the practical side of money, while also addressing the emotions and beliefs that often don't get discussed. And as a result, our workshops on money and meditation were born. So if you have a pen and paper, you can grab that now because you might want to write some things down as we go. Also, like Renee said, please feel free to add any comments as we go. And if you find something helpful, inspiring, have a question, we love comments. So our mission is to empower women to cultivate a healthy and conscious relationship with money. And before we even get into any of the practical, we're going to start by taking a deep breath. So to bring ourselves into the moment. And you can either close your eyes or leave them open and take a deep breath in and let it out. And allowing yourself to recognize that the next half an hour is dedicated to you. There's so much going on throughout our days, and you've blocked off this time. So I would encourage you as much as possible to put down any other distractions, put your phone on silence, and allow yourself to fully surrender into this experience with us. If you find yourself having a reaction to what we're talking about, take that time to refocus your attention on your breath. Look around you and appreciate that for the next 30 minutes you have no other obligations.
So what can you expect for the next half hour? We're going to be talking about two ways to approach money. First, we want to talk about the practical side of money, along with some ideas and tools to help us develop some healthy habits. In the second half, we will talk about mindfulness and how it can help us build a strong and confident relationship with money. So, we're going to start with the practical side. And most people tend to feel motivated when there is clarity and overwhelmed when clarity is lacking. So on the practical side, what can we do first? we can start to bring awareness and clarity to our lives, to lessen any feelings of overwhelm and to inspire motivation. And we recommend starting with the following 3 things. First off, start somewhere and start small. We suggest the following 3 items. 1, get organized. Chaos is demotivating, so let's put an end to that. 2, get clear on your goals and values. This is how you begin to turn your vision for your money into a reality for your life. And finally, be prepared. Do something for yourself in the present that you will thank yourself for in the future. So let me elaborate a bit more on each. First off, getting organized. We highly suggest setting up a weekly money day to check in with your money plan. And this is where you spend anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, 5 to 20 minutes a week to check in with yourself and your finances. And you use your money days to track your weekly spending, to pay bills, and to adjust your spending plans. And finally, you automate. So by automating, you also are able to organize where your money is going and the dates that it's going out. So use these tools and technology to add convenience and to save time. So let's talk more about the money date. Why a money date? So when you have a scary financial task in front of you, it's important to find ways to bring in comfort and fun. So by creating a money date and making it enjoyable, we actually reframe a scary task into a form of self-care. So make it comfortable, make it easy, make it fun. Maybe that means going to your favorite coffee shop with your computer or curling up on the couch at home with tea or a glass of wine. You want to approach this block of time as a commitment to yourself and investment in your future. We often make the time for weekly manicures and massages, but are we making time for self-care around money? So approach this as you would with any other self-care activity. So right now, I invite everyone to write down a day of the week you can devote to your money date. Now remember, it can be anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, any day of the week. So for me, for example, it's always on Fridays. And I generally spend about 15 minutes just checking in and looking over everything. So once everyone is set, then we can move on. And just as Zoe invited us to do at the beginning, when you sit down for your money date, you want to take some deep breaths, bring yourself to a relaxed state in the present moment. Then, with a centered and calm mind, you can go on to step 1 and ask yourself, what has gone well this week? So maybe you paid your bills on time, maybe you saved money by making your lunch once a week. Whatever it is, make a note of it. What has changed? Did a new event pop onto your calendar that you need to spend money on or that you need to plan for? Did your cable bill change? And finally, what can be adjusted? Will your spending plan need to be adjusted? Will spending more time reading and investing help you in some area? Or do you need to follow up with your CPA? What is it that you need at this time? And during this money day, it's the time to evaluate your current standing and any life changes that have occurred so that you can adjust your money plan. We have to remember that life is fluid and it's constantly changing. So by bringing awareness to these changes and planning for these new adjustments, then we can feel better prepared and empowered. So once you've breezed through those questions and you have a bit more clarity and awareness, you go on to step 2. And this is where all the action takes place. This is where you pay bills. You ensure that all payments are made on time and that there are no surprises or late fees. You review the week's spending. This is a great time to start bringing awareness to your spending habits as well. It's only through awareness that we're able to create change if we need it. And also organize your receipts and keep them in a folder or box. This will make tax preparation so much easier later on. And review your income. So has anything changed? If you're a freelancer, do you need to follow up on any outstanding invoices and get paid? Check in with your retirement and savings account. It's always important to understand where your money is being invested and how much you have in your account. And then finally, again, automate as much as possible. This will shorten the amount of time and energy spent around money issues, and it frees up your time to devote to other areas in your life that bring you joy. You can automate everything from bill paying to savings and investments. So as you run through this checklist, notice any emotions and beliefs that pop up and write those down, and we'll come back to those later. In our workshops, we teach techniques on how to work more closely with these emotional aspects so that they do not impede our progress. And in a few moments, Zoe will talk more about how we can use mindfulness to approach these blocks. So that was the money date. Now that you have your money date scheduled on your calendar, let's look at goals and values. You're going to grab your pen and write down the top 3 things that are most important to you. Is it your work? Is it your health? Is it currently your new hobby? Is it your family? Our priorities shift over time, and sometimes we lose sight of that, so it is helpful to check in with ourselves and get clear on what is important now. And this is something you can do on your money dates or just once a month or even just once a quarter, kind of checking in, see what's important to you at that moment in time. Next, write down the top 3 ways you want to spend your time. Does this entail traveling more? Perhaps it's spending time with family or cultivating new friendships, or maybe you want to spend time starting a new business. Go ahead and just make a list of these. And finally, I ask you, is your money going to what you value most and how you want to spend your time? Our money most often goes to areas where we spend most of our time. So is this lining up for you? Are you spending money and time shopping and traveling when you would actually prefer to spend time developing a new business or a hobby? Are your values and time spent in alignment with your money plan? This is what we want to be looking at. If not, what can be changed or adjusted? How can you realign your money goals with your values? This is an area where journaling is also really helpful. Get honest with yourself and your desires. Getting clear on this will drive the way that you spend and manage your money moving forward. And lastly, let's talk about being prepared. Excuse me. So we come up to what I like to call my oh shit fund, or as many of you may call it, it's an emergency fund. This is used for those unexpected life events that seem to pop up and throw us for a loop. But it doesn't have to be that way if we're prepared. So if you currently don't have a savings account or a consistent contribution to your savings, then I want you to think of how much money you can put in savings each week that is realistic and completely doable for you. So it can be as little as $5 a week or $20 a month. Remember, start somewhere and start small. Now write down that number and commit to saving that amount moving forward. And what's great about technology nowadays is that it can really help us in achieving these savings goals. There are currently lots of great apps out there that can help you save by automatically transferring money from your bank account into a separate savings account based on the rules that you set. So for example, there are 2 apps. One's called Capital, one is called Digit. I can make a rule on the app called Capital that will transfer $10 to a savings account every Friday. Or I can choose to set up a rule that transfers $1 for every purchase I make at Starbucks. You can get creative, you can make up your own rules, and I've seen really amazing success with these apps because they're seamless, they're easy to use, and the money ends up in a separate account so that we're not so tempted to take it out. And most banks also have programs that help by rounding up your purchases and putting those amounts in a savings account for you. So check out some of these apps and some of these programs that your bank offers. And automate this task, and over time you'll see that your savings will start to grow. So if you already have a savings account, then check in with yourself. See if anything needs to be adjusted. Many financial experts suggest that we maintain anywhere from 3 to 9 months worth of living expenses as an emergency fund. For most people, it takes time to build up to this amount. So if it feels like a daunting task, then I suggest shooting for at least $500 to $1,000 in cash and then just keep building from there. So as you can see from this statistic, a massive 57% of Americans don't have enough cash to cover a $500 emergency, such as car repairs or a medical bill. This means that a simple unforeseen cost could push the majority of people into debt. And we want to avoid that, of course. So it's a great idea to create something for yourself, like a no-shit fund, that you will thank yourself for in the future. So, how else can we let our money mojo flow? Well, to summarize, we can gain some clarity around our money and take practical steps by getting organized, setting our weekly money dates, checking in with our finances, getting clear on your goals, on your values, doing this by journaling and asking yourself important questions. And finally, by planning. We plan for the unexpected by maintaining an emergency fund. And I know that those of you on the call today all have good intentions when it comes to better understanding your finances. So what happens? Why so often do we have these really good intentions, we have these great tools and information, but when it comes to keeping our money mojo flowing, we encounter a disconnect or a block? Well, we're human beings after all. We're emotional creatures, which is truly beautiful and a unique gift, especially for us women. But sometimes our emotions or our conditioned beliefs can sabotage our best intentions. So, by inviting mindfulness and awareness techniques, such as meditation, into our relationship with money, then we can begin to create huge changes in our approach to money. We can begin aligning our inner beliefs with our practical actions and goals. And let me tell you, having this conversation about our money fears and our money blocks is the first huge, huge step.
So 80% of women confess they have refrained from discussing finances with those they are close to. This is a statistic that came out of a Fidelity research project, and one of the things it's telling us is that as women, we are not talking about money. But why? One reason is because of fear. When fear of judgment or fear of doing it wrong, there tends to be a lot of fear-based emotions that come out around money. So how do we work with this fear? How do we work with the fear and also accomplish our financial goals and ultimately develop a healthier relationship with money? So first we look at how fear shows up. It can show up differently for everyone. So what does it look like for you? Then we figure out whether our fear is helpful or hurtful. And finally, we practice transforming our fear messages into love messages. So how does your fear manifest? In the workshops Imelda and I offer, we dive in deep with people around how their fear shows up specifically for them. And one of the things we have found is that fear tends to manifest in one of the following ways: inaction or overaction. And Imelda and I actually help balance each other out in this area because I tend towards the inaction side and Imelda tends towards the overaction side. So inaction is when you find yourself putting off looking at money. When people talk about finances, you find yourself shutting down. You get late fees on credit cards or bills, and things around money feel a little fuzzy. And overaction is when you try to control your money to the point of the impossible. Every dollar is allocated, and it ends up leaving no room for error or spontaneity. And you find yourself stuck thinking about what you have to do and what you have to plan for in fear of missing something or doing it wrong. So how does your fear manifest? Feel free to write it in the comments or your journal. And ultimately, inaction and overaction are two different responses to the same deeper feeling. These deeper feelings can look like judgment, shame, guilt, and overwhelm. It is so helpful to put down the specifics of how fear shows up for you, because once we begin to identify the ways in which fear shows up, then we can call it out as fear and work with these deeper feelings. So when you catch yourself missing a bill or overthinking your budget, you can say, "Ha-ha, fear, I see you." And your fear is going to try to convince you of a lot of things. Some of the things we hear women say are, I should know how to do this already. I don't deserve this. I should have more money by now. I'm not smart enough to understand. This is your fear talking. Once you recognize it, ask yourself, where does it live in my body? What does it look like? And write your answers down. This is where mindfulness becomes extremely helpful. By bringing our attention to what is present in the moment and befriending our minds and our emotions, we begin to see a clearer picture. And with clarity comes the ability to discern whether your fear is being helpful or hurtful. So ask yourself, what is my fear trying to tell me, and why is it there anyways? Well, its original purpose is to protect us and motivate us. When we don't have an emergency fund set up, our fear kicks in to remind us that our future planning needs some attention. But how we respond to this fear is what makes the difference. Does it become our friend or our foe? When your fear tells you you are stupid, never going to get this, not worthy, irresponsible, that is fear attacking you instead of helping you. We learn best when we feel relaxed, excited, and good about ourselves. This is why it's important to create something like a money date. So even if your fear is present and trying to attack you, you are putting up barriers so that there is still an intentional space created with kindness and love for you to come to. Ultimately, though, we want to transform our fear. So we all want to make a difference in this world, and we as women have a lot of power. And part of this power is being kind and compassionate and intentional when it comes to how we talk to ourselves and others about money. When working with transforming your money fears into money love, it is important that your words feel genuine and true. It is not just about saying and affirming opposites. It is about sitting with yourself in stillness and connecting to what your most reassuring, gentle, and loving voice would say in response to your fear. A fear we hear a lot is, I'm not smart enough. And a response to this could be, it's okay if I don't know something, I can learn it. This is also an opportunity to reconnect with your values. Imelda talked about this earlier and reconnecting to the why. Knowing why money is important to you will help keep you grounded. The antidote to fear is compassion action. So finally, visualization and meditation. I was listening to a TED Talk by social psychologist Amy Cuddy about how body language can actually change our hormones, and that by adopting power stances for 2 minutes, like the Wonder Woman stance, we can feel more powerful. She mentions that positive thoughts alone don't do the trick because often we don't believe them. Signals from our bodies, however, are more physiologically based and therefore can have a bigger impact. I would add that visualization is one step further. It is imagining and embodying how you would like to feel, how you would act, what you would think, and what you would say if you were operating from a place of feeling strong enough, smart enough, cool enough, and capable enough. What would it look like if you sat down with your finances feeling smart and capable? Visualization is seeing the world through the eyes of who you want to be. How do we want to be with money? What do we want to have, and how will it feel? If we want to be free, relaxed, confident, content, we must spend time cultivating these states of being. Meditation is bringing attention into the moment and allowing space for the unknown to become known. We must direct our attention with intention as a gift to ourselves and others, because ultimately, attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity.
So it's our hope that you leave this webinar feeling empowered and inspired to tackle whatever financial obstacles stand in the way of you having the kind of positive and healthy relationship you'd like to have with money. Let's remember that this is not only a journey, it's a long-term relationship that we continue to cultivate with money by learning and educating ourselves about money, addressing the emotions and attachments that we have to money, and finally, developing healthy habits that guide us closer to our money goals. Hopefully this webinar has provided some useful ideas and opened up the conversation around fear and money so that we can move through it in a healthy way and continue on our path towards achieving financial wellness. If there are any questions, we're happy to listen and talk some more. And you can also find out more about us and the workshops we offer on our website, Money and Meditation.
Awesome. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And I think that this subject, Imelda and Zoe, is so very important because one of the biggest and most perhaps frightening statistic out there, but it's also very empowering, is that women are going, here in the United States, are going to be controlling roughly 2/3 of this country's wealth in the next 10 years. And so if we're not comfortable with handling our day-to-day finances, how are we going to be comfortable when a lot of this wealth is passed over to us, either in the way of our own doing, from establishing businesses or saving it or investing it? But for many of us who may be widowed or divorced, there's a transfer of assets that take place there, or we can inherit from our parents and other family members. So really this subject I think is extremely important, and that when we get to the bottom of the reasons why there is this roadblock and this challenge, women are just as capable as anyone else, certainly, in learning about and managing their finances. But it's that emotional block that tends to create some disruption in that process. So I do thank you so much for spending your time with us today and sharing that. When are you having your next workshops? Are these done on a frequent or periodic basis, or just on a, I guess, do you have a specific schedule, I guess is the question.
We are trying to have them at least once a quarter. Our next workshop is going to be at the end of April, so the specifics are still being figured out, but it will be at the end of April, and you can just check out the website for updated information and dates and locations and all of that. But
okay.
Yeah.
Great, great. Well, and that's perfect because it's right after tax season, so the stress levels will be. I'm sure you guys did that intentionally. Yeah. So we do have a question, so let's see. Actually, it's a comment saying this was wonderful. So obviously you hit a note with a number of our attendees, and so we really want to thank you. If anyone wants to reach out to Zoe and Imelda to find out more about what they do together or even separately, please make sure to go to the moneyandmeditation.com site. And with that, we're going to end today's session. Hopefully we will have many of you on our next month's session, and hopefully many of you who have a fear getting in the way of your money mojo, maybe also registering and signing up for the basics of investing will also help in that regard as well. So with that, I want to say goodbye to everyone, and we look forward to connecting with you next month.
Thank you, Renee. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.